Good morning and welcome to Failure to Stop's Last Call Wednesday. Political news to get you through the week. Am I on the right microphone today?
Yes,
Does that
we are
sound
starting
like
out
it's the
good.
right microphone? Good. I'm starting off good. Producer Deadleg's in here. But yeah, we have a show jam-packed on the political news so that you're not living under a rock. So at least you know something that's going on in the world. They always say knowing is half the battle. Not to act is to act. So to not be to be informed is not, I don't know. I was trying to get some wisdom in there. It didn't quite work out. Today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. We've got RFK jumping on the old Trump train. We've got this weird, the far right is calling it a sacrifice, but we have the abortion clinic bus showing up at the DNC, which is, as the Democrats would say, weird. That's weird. It's weird that they was a focus point, not a blood drive, but a bloodbath, as some would call it. We'll discuss it. We'll jump into a little bit. Then we got, we're going to finish up the show, though, with this really important Social Security hack. Everybody got hacked, but nobody really is talking about it. We've done some deep diving on it, and so we'll hit that at the end. But we also have, what else do we have? Did I miss? I know I missed something.
You probably misspoke like Tim Walz does all the time.
Oh, that's right. Tim Walz with another misspoken truth. Another misspoken truth from the old Command Sergeant Major Combat Veteran Tim Walz. I don't know. Listen, it's election cycle, dude. We're less than 100 days out from this thing, so it's all going to get bonkers and more wild from here. And then this, oh yeah, I wanted to get into this really quick too on today's show, that really heinous opening of just the butchered Star Spangled Banner that was played at one of the Democrat events. It was it's worth taking a listen to. Let me ruin your day with it. But we got a lot of stuff for you today. So take it away, Joshua. Let's jump into this thing.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
You know what's funny? Joshua, is that I have everything we're talking about bullet pointed. It's just not on the monitor. It's on the laptop. And I get so focused in looking at the camera and the monitor that I forget to look at the tabs on my own computer. I don't have to memorize what we're talking about. I can just simply look down. I can look down. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody does it. But I don't do it. Why don't I do it? Why don't I just look down and then I don't have to be a bumbling fool, an idiot, an ignoramus? I don't know. But I appreciate you guys tolerating me in the chats. Tyler S., Armory Knight, Will Cray, Spec Ops 27. That's a new name. Sounds special, though. It sounds real special. Murph 530, thanks for being here. David J. from across the pond. Is David J. across the pond yet? Thought he would be across the pond by now, but I'm glad that we have him in the chats while he's still got internet. So appreciate you guys being there. Everybody else, for all the, I think we had 30,000 something in the live yesterday on Two Cops One Donut last night on the night show on his channel. Really cool. Really like doing that Tuesday show. So if you want to jump over to Two Cops One Donut, officially launching our new media network this week. It's kind of a soft rollout, though, so don't get too excited. It's a soft rollout, but we're starting to bring these other shows onto the RSS feed. Once everything is situated, we'll have a grand release of the actual network with the new network branding, all of the things. I promise you guys are going to love it, but it is the #1 network where first responders, knuckle draggers, trench monkeys, GWAT boys go to be informed and entertained with lots of great shows like the Anti-Hero podcast, like Two Cops, One Donut, like Failure to Stop, like One More and I'm Out of Here, all the things that they keep you guys going through the week as you are working, doing the Lord's work, as they say. Big weekend for me. Got to work with Yakko Booyans in Texas and Badges and Boxes, George Wilson. And it was a very special weekend in Dallas for us. We went to Glenn Beck's Blaze Media Studios to meet up with Jaco Booyens to go over what I think is some very important child trafficking things. They're writing some bills and some legislation, but there was also a new story that had come out with some whistleblowers while we were in Texas. And I have been tasked with doing the research, with doing the actual journalism, and then pitching it back to the network to see where that story lies. And so I'm really excited to be working on that. And I hope to bring the story first to you guys, of course. But again, then maybe spreading it on through Jaco Booyens and all of their outlets over there. But we got to tour Glenn Beck's private vault, Josh, which was, oh my God. Just, it was, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I can say from the bottom of my heart that it was a life-changing experience. Seeing his vault.
Got a really nice shirt on there too, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Save the children before they need rescue. Yes. Tyler S says, what it said something about, I'm just 10 basher trying to get C- entertainment. I'm just a 10 basher trying to get C- entertainment. Well, you come to the right spot. Yeah. So getting to hold like real documents from the Salem witch trials, or getting to hold the actual script to the original Star Wars, to see the V for Vendetta mask, to hold the actual tablets from the movie 10 Commandments, and to see Sean Connery's tuxedo. I got to see the original draft of the Constitution written by Jefferson. I got to touch FDR's wheelchair in the vault. I got to hold one of the original muskets carried by, I forgot who it was carried by in the Revolutionary War, like a real musket that actually killed people in the Revolutionary War. I got to see one of the first electric chairs that was used to electrocute somebody. That now, what's his name? What's the dude that invented the electric chair? Nikola Tesla, and who was the other guy? Nikola Tesla and come on, not Bell, but the light bulb guy. God, I feel stupid. Anyway, I got to see when they presented the electric chair, where they shocked a guy for 20 seconds and he didn't die, and they re-shocked him for 2 more minutes and he died. I got to see that chair. I got to in his private vault. So just an incredible collection. Did you remember the movie The Patriot, where he has the slave sign his rights over to join the militia, to join Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox? And he says, I won't take a slave, but if you give me your signature at the end of the war, I'll give you your freedom. And he says, I don't know how to write. And he says, well, then put your X on this document. I got to hold that document in my hand. I took a picture of me holding the actual, not the movie prop, but the actual document with his X on it. Just incredible. Like I said, it was a life-changing moment for me, walking through history. And I've never, I've gone to museums and anything, but I've never been to somebody's private vault where I got to actually hold these things. The golden ticket to Willy Wonka, got to hold it in my hand. That little rock with the mosquito in it from Jurassic Park, I got to hold that. The necklace from Titanic, I held it in my hands, that she wore in the movie Titanic. So just, I got to see the tree from Barney and Friends. It was in the middle of the set. I got to see the entire set with Archie Bunker, the TV series with Archie Bunker back in the day. I got to see Archie Bunker's chair and all that stuff. So just a really amazing moment at Blaze TV. Glenn Beck, big shout out to Jaco Booyens ministry and all that they're doing, saving the children from human trafficking. So anyway, and I learned a lot, and then we came home, and of course, and we're working on our own network here for first responders and veterans, and just a lot going on, man. And I'm thankful for life at this point. Like, it just, it's one of those things. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go sit at a human trafficking. I'll be honest. Let me be honest with you guys. Little man in the chats. I just want to be honest. He says, have you ever been beaten by a wet spaghetti noodle by your girlfriend because she has a twin sister and you got confused and messed with her dad? Well, that's how it feels to drive a Ford F-250. Huh. Well, that was extremely contributional. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Little man. I saw a long paragraph and I was like, I have to read this, but evidently I did not need to read that. But anyway, when I got the call from the detective George, he says, we're doing this human trafficking roundtable for a case that's going on in North Carolina. We're doing it Jaco Booyens ministry. I'm a big fan of Jaco Booyens. The movie Taken was written after his sister. Jaco's got one of the biggest anti-human trafficking intel syndicates in the world. I don't know if syndicates is the right word, but what he's done for child victims is incredible. So, he wants me to come sit at this round table. And I was like, man, I got so much on my plate. Now I'm going to have to fly out at 2:00 in the morning all the way to Dallas, do this meeting super early in the morning, and then pretty much fly right back. Or I'm going to, and I couldn't find a flight day in and day out. So I actually had to fly in that morning and fly out the next night. And so I was kind of in a bad mood on my way there, but I'm not going to say no, right? Like I never say no. I never do. I think every opportunity is an opportunity and it always leads to something bigger and better. And so I never say no. But this one was like, so my wife was like, so they're not paying you to go out there? And I was like, no. She's like, they're not buying your plane ticket? Nope. Are they paying for your hotel? Nope. Are they paying for your Uber? Nope. Then why are you going? I said, because they asked me to be there. They asked me to sit on a human trafficking round table and to help kind of come up with a plan for this scenario that's going on in North Carolina. And she said, and they can't help you out, at least cover half. And I said, I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to go. So yeah, I mean, I was a little bit like, but I never say no. And I went out there, ended up being, I would have paid twice what I paid to get out there and do all that stuff to be a part of, not only the museum or the private vault, but to be a part of this human trafficking legislation and bill that's being written by these guys. So just a really special week. I'm so glad I did it. And listen, if there's anything you can learn from that, man, God works in weird, mysterious ways. And so when you are called to do something that doesn't make sense, when something just out of the ordinary is presented to you on a platter and it doesn't make sense, that's probably God talking to you. That's probably a clue that you should probably go with it, because that just doesn't happen, right? Like it's pretty awkward that a rando detective from a random part of North Carolina who's a big Failure to Stop Wolfpack fan has something that he wants to do, and he brings you and he asks you to come, and that's weird. That doesn't happen. That's weird. Doesn't make sense. But then you do it and you end up being a part of something incredible. So, sometimes it's not really about what's in it for you. It's about the journey or the opportunity. And hey, listen, I've gotten real lucky. I told 2 cops 1 donut while we were there because he took the same leap of faith I did and showed up as well to this thing. And he was real confused and was like, why are we doing this? Like, what's in it for us? But he had the same kind of those are natural questions. That doesn't make him an asshole. I had the same questions. What's in it for me? Like, what am I doing? But here's what makes us different is that we concluded that it didn't seem like there was anything in it for us, but we still went anyway. Because not everything is about what can I get out of this. Sometimes you just got to do things. And I told him, I said, look, we might strike out on this. This might have been a waste of $1,200 for me. Could have been a waste. I don't know yet. But it could be something great. I don't know. But a detective who's a fan of this show asked me to come to this thing. He was adamant about me being a part of this thing. And I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And we're going to do it. And it ended up being quite incredible, Josh. It really did. Like I said, not to be hyperbolic, but I feel like in my soul, it was a life-changing event for me. It really opened my eyes to how great people really are. There was a number of people, odd people, all different shapes and sizes, different ages. I think there was like 7 or 8 of us. You can see the picture on the Instagram, Photoshop Instagram. And all unassuming people. You'd see these folks in the airport and you wouldn't look at them twice. They would just pass right by. You wouldn't even notice. They're gray. They're the gray man and women. And then you get them in this round table about human trafficking and they start talking about what their expertises are. One's a therapist. One's a foster care. One owns a church organization that fosters children. One is a level 4 therapeutic foster parent who only fosters kids with severe and extreme traumas. That's the woman in the green there. She's a cop full time. Actually, she has, I think like 4 foster children, all level 4 therapeutic foster children. So now she's a cop part-time, but people are driven by love. And that's what I learned from this event that I kind of have forgotten. is that there are people out there who literally live their life based on love of human beings. And there are so many cops out there that will go unknown that do things out of love. They buy the Chick-fil-A not for social media clout, not to post it on their Instagram, but they do it for love. And when I got to sit at this round table with people you'll never find on social media, you'll never find them with some big nonprofit organization. They don't have fancy flyers and t-shirts. You don't have any of those things. But what they are doing out of love is literally changing the lives of not thousands, right? They're not Schindler's List here where they're saving 70,000 Jews or anything like that. But they are saving one child each. 4 children each. I think the one guy says that he's fostered like 15 of these kids. And, and me having 5 of my own kids, I understand how hard it is to parent your own 5 kids. I can't imagine what it would be like parenting 5 foster children. So again, it's like one of these things where I came home and reevaluated where I'm at. What am I doing for other people out of love? I've been in the podcast game now for 4 years. And before that was a cop. And, so I was, my job has literally been talking to people and reaching people, but, made me really reevaluate, what have I really done out of love? And what have I done, selflessly? And I don't think I've done enough. And I don't think we as a network have done enough selflessly and not for some kind of weird social media clout or something. So being in the influence of these folks really spoke to me. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes that we make and that we kind of revamp in going through to try to make the world a better place, because it's all our part. But hopefully, through this project, maybe it will inspire you. Maybe, and that was kind of what, when I was there, I was kind of like, well, what is my job here? Like, why did you bring me here? And they said, well, you have a voice. You have a voice and you can reach people and you can talk to people. And we feel that with the facts that we pull together and somebody present those facts, and I thought that's, if that's where my duty is. I didn't see that as my duty. I just saw this as me jumping on the airwaves and talking to you guys and keeping you informed and entertained, keeping you awake in your cop cars, in your meat wagons, giving you something to laugh about, something to talk about, right? With your friends. So you're not getting that divorce. Your daughter doesn't hate you because you don't know anything about Taylor Swift. That's why we do our show on Monday night, Society and Culture. So you have something else to talk about other than dead babies and domestic violence. But I didn't realize that I had a further calling, that there was more duty in this for me. And so, and for you, Josh, and for everybody else on this network. So really just coming at this week, this month with a whole new attitude. And it really all goes back to this, just a selfless detective, random detective in this small, dinky, not very funded police department in the middle of BFE, North Carolina, who is literally on a stage with Yako Booyens, Glenn Beck, and all these other guys in Texas, and myself, with Vinny Montez, the comedian. And this guy is making power moves with no social media, with no clout, with nobody even knowing who he is. And I think that's incredible, man. I think that he is a real hero, maybe one of the biggest heroes of my time. And you can see him in this picture. He's standing next to me. Notice that he's in the very back row. The guy who's orchestrating all of this, who has been doing it for over a year, and has, and you can, we'll get more into it on a different episode, but there's a Badges and Boxes episode I did about him about a year ago, which I thought, remember I said a year ago when I met with him was also I came back a new charge guy, wasn't life changing, but it was just like, wow, it was incredible. But now that I see how much further he keeps going on a daily basis, that's what makes it life changing. So anyway, sorry about that morning rant for you guys, but listen, I hope it inspires you that you don't have to have a voice. You don't have to have social media. You don't have to have a podcast to go out and selflessly make the world a better place. You can literally change somebody's world by just sitting in your house and thinking about how to do it, and then implementing that and taking action, and going as far as you want to go. Do you really want to be a hero? How far are you willing to go? I don't know that I've ever been that focused on it, but Detective George woke up one morning and asked himself, How far do I want to go to be a hero? And he went a very long way with extreme amounts of sacrifice for nothing. No extra money, no clout, no, BLM or Wounded Warrior style nonprofit that you get to go have lavish parties. There'll be no lavish parties for what he does. There'll be no galas to attend in suit and tie, no black tie dances and things like that. None of that. No, none of that with what he's doing to save children. Heartbreakingly saving children from just trafficking, from familial trafficking from the family members, just insane things. So anyway, big shout out to everybody out there who's fostering kids, who are working and volunteering their times in these homes, for people that are visiting cancer patients and cancer wards, and for all those people that are just doing things taking care of your elderly selflessly, changing those diapers and all those things, man. Let me just go ahead and salute you right now. Let me give you a salute. We should have like a Veterans Day for people like that, All right, let's jump into the news. Wasn't planning on doing all that this morning, but I appreciate you guys tagging along for the journey. Let's lighten this up a little bit. Let's play the national anthem. Let's start the show off with this beautiful rendition of our national anthem. It's better.
So proudly we hailed the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad strides
USA, USA,
Say.
USA, USA. That was the Democrat Women's Caucus, by the way.
That's how they opened the DNC yesterday.
Yep.
We have a show every Wednesday. Sometimes we are planned out where we have things started on Monday night and we know what we're doing Wednesday. And there are sometimes that we'll roll in here Wednesday morning and that little clock says 12 minutes to go. And we're like, oh crap, what do we have to do? Even on those days, we seem more prepared than those women on that stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like when you have a debate the night before your show and the debate doesn't end until midnight. And you and I are too tired to talk about the show, but we have to talk about the debate. And so we wake up super early on Wednesday morning and try to throw it all together. We still do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop the tape and start over.
Or just, you have a recording of other people singing it. Just stand there with your hand over your heart and let that go. Like
I used to be on a funeral detail when I was in the Army. I did like 6 months of funeral details. And they gave us a bugle. And I was like, I'm not a bugle. I don't know how to play the bugle. And they're like, we're going to give you lessons. And I'm like, what? So I went home. I called my dad and I was like, look, man, I'm on this unit for the next 6 months. I'm on this thing. And they're sending me to a caisson school to do funerals. And then they're sending me to a bugle school to learn how to play the bugle. My dad was like, what? I was like, yeah, you got to play the bugle. Got to the bugle class. It's about 6 minutes long. Probably the fastest course I've ever taken in the military. And the way you play the bugle is you hold it like this, straight up, right? You're at attention. You hold it. You bring it up when they say, like when it's time, right? When the salute happens, you bring the bugle up. Your thumb hits the play button down in the tube. See that? Did you see that? You see that thumb? It gives you 3 seconds. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And you just tilt your head back to all the long ones, but the bugle plays itself. It's not real bugle. I can't tell you how many people came up and shook my hand crying.
Oh.
My Uncle Joe would have loved that. You hit every note. Big salute, and I would just play it off, dude. I would play it. Man, I'd blow my cheeks out while I'm doing it. Blowing the, yeah. Do I feel bad now? Sure, but I was in my 20s. Oh, if I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, I think I could have gotten laid by a couple of those funerals just by my bugle skills.
You never busted out a solo?
It's not the only thing I can blow, ladies. No. Wait, I mean, I have a bugle you can blow. Anyway, there you go. That's how the DNC opened. The big news today, though, RFK Jr. jumping on the Trump train. I think this is a very interesting piece of news for you guys today. My wife probably was going to vote for RFK. She's a big RFK fan. If you listen to my Night Shift Top Secret Information show, which is kind of conspiracy theory show brought to you by Red Pill Threads, so we interview big people in the conspiracy game, and one of the last guests that we had on Night Shift TSI was Jessica Sutter from the Pussycat Dolls, who suffered a vaccine injury. And so she's very outspoken about being anti-vaccination. And she's like, I don't know, like triple boosted or something. I don't know, but she was like all in on the whole vaccine game until she received a massive vaccine injury. And then she actually went on tour with RFK Jr. She was a big RFK Jr. fan. She definitely seems I didn't talk to her very much about politics on that show. She seems like she was probably left leaning, like the RFK left, though. Not the far left, not the Hillary Clinton left, but the RFK kind of left views there. And it was real interesting to hear her take on RFK and what kind of a man he was. And, honestly, talking to her and her time spent with RFK made me kind of appreciate RFK. But my wife read a lot of RFK's books. Even before he was running for the president. She read one of his books that he had written, I guess, about Fauci or some things like that. So she's been a big RFK Jr. fan, my wife has been. And so I think she was going to vote for RFK Jr. And we didn't have a debate. We had a laughable debate in our bedroom, and we were talking about a house divided being in sports, and she's like, oh, we're not a house divided via sports. We're house divided because you're going to vote for Trump and I'm going to vote for RFK Jr. And we both giggled. I said, are you really voting for RFK? She goes, I am. Yeah. And she's like, no, I will vote for who you tell me to vote because I am your wife. And I was like, well, I would never tell you who to vote for because I'm your husband. I just wouldn't do that. And she says, well, if you're not going to tell me who to vote for, I'm probably going to vote for RFK Jr. I said, well, then I guess that's who you're going to vote for. But now we wake up this morning coming to find out that it is a high probability that not only is RFK dropping out this week, but he is going to endorse Donald Trump. And what does that? So now is that red wave is a terrible, like, I don't believe in that. You know what I mean? It's like you don't stop playing football or rugby when you're up. You keep the hammer down. I never feel bad about the coach or I never talk shit about the coach who just keeps on driving it. Like, win by fucking 100. Show no mercy at the pro level. Kids level, okay. Calm down. Calm down there, Dick Bucka. You know what I'm saying? Like, calm it down. These are like 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds. But like on a world, like a collegiate or professional level, I used to keep the hammer down. You never give it a chance. So I don't think that it's just a lay down, but this is a huge hole to run through if RFK does, because he had a pretty significant percent of votes that could either take away for Democrats or Republicans. So if he goes over to Donald Trump, that does not look good on the Democrat side. What's your take on it?
His vice president pick is Nicole Shanahan, and I listened to her interview. We got a little snippet from it. We're going to play in a second. Before she goes into what we're going to play, she was explaining that they're essentially a third party because the Democrats, traditionally how you go through things, what's going on right now, the DNC, they're supposed to be figuring out whether it's Biden or Kamala or whether it's going to be RFK. This is where they have their convention, just like the Republicans do. But the Democrats, they've made their bed before they even got there. They said, oh, Biden's going to be it. 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 RFK is like, hey, there's some people that think I might have a seat at the table too. They're like, no, we're not even going to give you a seat we're not even going to give you the attention that you deserve. Not only that, we're not going to give you Secret Service protection. We're going to file lawsuits in states to make sure that you can't even be on the ballots, that you can't even receive votes in some states. So they're taking when I say a concerted effort, they're taking.
Well, they removed him from YouTube. They removed him from Facebook. They removed him from social media. They wouldn't allow him to debate on CNN. CNN wouldn't bring him on for interviews. I mean, I've never seen somebody so silenced in my entire life. Like, they literally said, RFK, stop. You're not running. You're not doing it. Daddy says no. So who is Daddy? Who is Daddy? Like, who gets to make across the board? Who gets to tell social media, mainstream media like CNN, who gets to tell the debate? Who is saying, I have enough power that I can erase you from all of these things. I am the all-encompassing daddy, which makes me believe wholeheartedly where, if you go back 4 years ago when Mike believed in a deep state, in the swamp, and I was like pushing back, like, I don't know, I just don't see the government. But like now it's apparent, right? Like it is apparent that there is somebody on a huge level orchestrating this, or else it wouldn't be across the board, right? Like RFK would have Facebook but not be on CNN, or he would be able to debate but not be on Facebook and CNN. But no, it's across the board. Unilaterally, he has been silenced.
Because we have the rules for thee, not for me. That's a quote that we use all the time, and you hear all the time, all over the place. But it really is that. Because if we all played by the same rules, RFK would have a seat at the table. He has enough people, he has enough pull, he has enough following, he has enough support to at least he gets entertained. Now, if you go through the whole motions and you have the DNC and you have him there and you have Kamala there and you have Biden there, and at the end of all of that, everyone says, okay, we've seen all of our candidates. This is who we think the best one is, and we're going to go with Kamala. Great. But they didn't do any of that. So what's happened is they've essentially created a third party, or if you want to say Donald Trump's created his own party because he's not Republican, we could say RFK has created a third or even a fourth party. And they've got enough poll and following that they, in the next election cycle, if they stay independent as they are, they will get public funding for this. So the decisions that they have to make is stay in the fight and then worry about maybe next election cycle where they'll get more funding, they'll have more poll, and they have more legitimacy at the table. Or do they put all of their weight behind Donald Trump just to give a big FU to Kamala Harris? Say, hey, if you're not going to give us a voice at all, they're not only giving us a voice. Alex Jones is saying that he's being tapped as maybe the attorney general is what they're looking at RFK for. But that's a lot of information that's come out in the last 12 hours about that nothing's been confirmed. But here's where the Alex Jones starts to have some weight to it, is when his VP pick is saying those things. You want me to play it?
Yeah, play it.
That we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not easy.
I don't want to say that I don't want to say I'm like RFK Jr., but one of the big things that I do with our network, working with all these other podcasts that fall under our umbrella, is transparency and explaining to the base. What secrets have I ever kept from our base, from the core, from the 4 years that you guys, from even the Mike the Cop days? I never held any secrets. I always told everybody what my plan was and what I was going to do. My strategy is I've never played poker. I love poker. I play poker every single week. Every single week I have for years. I play poker almost on my phone. I play poker at least once a day. I think I'm on day like 600 and something in a row on my phone. My wife makes fun of me all the time for it. I love playing poker. I have never played poker with my podcast or my podcast network or any of the sponsors. I never hold any cards close to my chest. I give you all of my playing cards. I believe that Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr., I think what I like him is because he does not hold any cards. He's telling his base exactly what he's doing. We don't want to side with Trump, but we're going to side with Trump. We're going to be honest with you of why we're doing it. And that is the game of politics, right? If you watch Game of Thrones, is that not the Game of Thrones? If you don't play the Game of Thrones, then you die or whatever it is. But, it is a Game of Thrones. You have to play this game, and they just aren't bluffing. You know what I mean? And the Democrats seem to be that guy that you play poker with that you don't know what the fuck's in their hands because they're bluffing all the time. They're like all in, and you're like, oh, damn. Like, I'm not willing to go all in on this because we're pretty early in the game, but like, what are you going all in for? Like, It's not like, there's still a lot of people at the table. You're not going to wash anybody out right now, and then they've got 7 deuce in their hand and they're going all in. But then, or then they'll run that crazy, like, you bet 1,000 and then they're like, yeah, check. I'll bet 1,000 too. And then you're like, okay. And you got a king on the board and a king in your hand. And then maybe, your flop is, another 2 and another 3. So you've got the high card at least. So, the only chance of them having better than you is if they have 2 pair at this point. There's no straight, there's no flush, and you got the king high or whatever, and you still got 2 cards to go. Maybe an ace flops out. Maybe they have an ace in their hand, but it doesn't seem likely. And so you keep betting 1,000 and they keep betting 1,000 with you. And you're like, what the fuck? And so he gets to the end and you're like, okay, well, like, I'm going to bet another 1,000 because I do have the king high. It's not a crazy bet, but it's not nothing. And then they bet 1,000 with you. And then they have like a 4-6. They have absolutely nothing. They didn't have anything. And you were like, well, why were you betting this whole time? Like, there was no chance. You didn't have that. Like, would you think I was bluffing? You think I had, it's like, that's the Democrat Party right now. They're that poker player that you're just like, what do you do? Do you not know how to play poker? Like, why are you just betting? This is fucking ridiculous. And then they're going all in, and maybe they have 2 queens, maybe they don't. So, but RFK is more of like that poker player that is like, okay, well, if he's making a bet, he at least has a high pair. He has something. I don't think he's bluffing. He's not the bluffer type. And I think Trump is like the greatest poker player of all time because, he might bluff, but he's bluffing on a low pair. So he has something, but does he have it all? Or he might have it all and play it like he doesn't. So, I've always equated these politics to poker, but it really, in this case, the Democrats are the worst poker players of all time. But I respect RFK Jr. for this exact acknowledgement and him being very honest with his base. But here's my question to you, Josh. What does his base do with this information? Because a lot of his base is anti-Trump. There's a big solid portion of his base that followed RFK Jr. because he wasn't as batshit crazy as Joe Biden, but he wasn't Trump. And so, okay, I'm going to vote for RFK Jr. What happens to that side of does the base follow RFK Jr.? Is his base loyal to RFK Jr. or was he just the middleman of the 2 extremes?
Even if he gets a percentage of that stays with him, because there's going to be some that are going to say, no, I'm not going to be with you. I'm not going to support Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. But you're going to have a couple of people that are like, I must still stay with RFK because he's RFK. And you're going to have that middle ground where those people are like, I don't know. I'm going back and forth. Then they start hearing what Trump is. They start hearing, well, they just said that he was calling these people not good people, but we've debunked that like over and over again. And here's another lie that they're saying that he's done over, but we've debunked that over and over again. And here's another thing that the news is saying, but here's the actual facts over and over again. So once that starts happening, that group of people, that's a whole new group of people that I hate the term red pill, but that's a whole new group of people that their eyes are open. They're seeing the news for what it is, the propaganda for what it is. They're being able to see the deep state in real time for what it is. If this happens, I have no idea how they're going to stop the landslide. There's no way that anybody with the right mind can go in and say, we have been on the Joe Biden train up until the last couple of weeks. The assassination attempt didn't work. So we got Joe Biden out, and we're going to put the worst vice president with the lowest approval rating in the history of this country. All of a sudden, she now not only is the presidential candidate, but she has polls that she is going to beat Donald Trump. What policy has she done? What's her policy? Her policy is capital gains tax. She's going to take more from you. Her policy is she's going to take and get rid of the taxes that Donald Trump said. Her policy is to copy Donald Trump and keep lying. That's her policy. You're going to tell me that they have the momentum that they're going to get the 85 million votes or 86 million votes. You're going to tell me that's going to happen? You don't have the entire summer of polls that are showing her in the lead. You don't have that like you did during the last presidential election during COVID, because you had all these polls and everybody was locked down and all they seen with these polls and Joe Biden's going to win. Joe Biden's going to win. Joe Biden's going to win. So whether it was stolen, whether it wasn't stolen, Joe Biden won. He's the president. But is he? Where's he at? Where's he at? So I don't know how the Democrats, I don't know how they come back. If RFK does this, I don't know how they overcome it. I really don't. I wonder if they'll be able to sleep at night.
It's going to be an interesting week. I wouldn't expect him to come out this week. Probably be next week that he comes out. Again, they want to inch this thing closer and closer to get as much last minute hype as they can. But we're under that 100-day mark, so we're closing in on this whole election thing. Katie K in the chat says, yo, my people. What do you mean, my people? Before we talk about my people, and this very weird, the Democrat weird sacrifice of the children at the DNC that the Democrats, not the Republicans, the Democrats made a big deal that they actually promoted and wheeled out the abortion vasectomy bus. And we're going to talk into this because this is strange to me. It is a strange flex on the Democrat Party. And is it, maybe is it that they're that unhinged or that they're that detached from reality that they thought that people will think that this is actually cool? Or does the majority of people think that this is kind of just something that happens and it's an unfortunate thing that happens and some people need it, but it's still a private, very emotional, very sacred act of killing a child, an abortion? Like, nobody's excited to have an abortion, like, regardless of what some of these wackadoodle pink-haired nose trinket psychopaths tell you. Nobody is like, I get to go have an abortion today. No, it's a very somber, it's a very well thought out process for a lot of people. There's a lot of, even some people pray about this stuff. I mean, there's a lot that goes into abortions and vasectomies. And so for the Democrats to just kind of roll this out as like a abortion free for all is like an exciting thing. I don't know that it hit the way they thought it was going to hit. And I'm going to show you some articles. I want to show you some numbers that kind of throw this, and it just kind of makes you go, why? Or who is coming up with these marketing ideas? But before we talk about the ghost of the many Democrat children, let's talk about the ghost bed. I am awake and alive every single day, loving life because I get a good night's rest. I always say that mental health and wellness starts with a good night's sleep. That's why we're proud to be sponsored by Ghost Bed, and we have from the beginning. Huge fans of first responders and law enforcement. That's why you can use the promo code Wolfpack and just get 50% off. No badge number, no showing your credentials. They're like, if they're part of the Wolfpack, they're part of us. I've toured their facility. The cooling sheets, can't live without it. Matter of fact, this morning I laid down on my bed. I propped my pillow up to have some coffee. The kids were just going nuts this morning, and I'm trying to study for this show. And I huffed and puffed and got up off the couch because there was no silence in the reading area of my home. And then I walked to my bedroom. I say that like I have a big home. It's a very small house. It's like 2,000 square feet. So the reading room, they're like, shut up, peasant. You have a 2,000 square foot home. And so and 1,000 feet of that is like a schooling area for homeschool kids. No, but I went back into my bedroom and I put my head on my pillow and I was like, why is my pillow wet? Oh, it's the cooling technology. It still gets me to this day. And I've been sleeping on that ghost bed pillow for years. It still gets me to this day. And my pillows aren't over a year old. I swap out my pillows almost every 4 or 5 months with Ghost Bed. That's just because I'm sponsored by them so I can get new ones. But the massage topper, that even if you don't have a Ghost Bed, you can get this massage topper. Absolutely therapeutic, zero gravity massage topper, crack and pop your back. I could not do jujitsu at 40 years old without my Ghost Bed massage topper, telling you right now. But if you get the actual massage mattress, it comes with the massage. You don't even have to have a topper. It comes with the mattress, has the zero gravity massage mode. It also will like recline into like a couch. So you don't have to like fluff your pillow up and sit up. You just, so if you got, foot injuries or bad backs or elderly, what a great gift. Head over to ghostbed.com. And then we also have factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 meal planning to the next level. So you don't have to eat like a peasant, sleep like a wealthy man, eat like a wealthy man, but on a middle class budget. And that's Factor Meals. If you want to get Papa Swolio, hit that 50 grams plus a protein per meal package. If you want to get lean and mean, hit that green machine button. Get that vegetarian or vegan, or you can just do simply calorie conscious, which is not vegetarian or vegan. It's just less than 500 calories per meal. These are beautiful, chef prepared and never frozen. Listen, I love your messages. I love your DMs. I do. all of them. And you know I respond to all of them if I see them. Now, sometimes they go to these like spam folders and I miss them, yada, yada, yada. It happens a lot. People get mad. I get it. But listen, don't send me any more messages asking me if the factor meals are frozen. I say it every week. Fresh, never frozen. They're not frozen. They come in this beautiful dish with an air-conditioned packaged like a Nordic ice to keep it all cool. You take it out, it stacks perfectly color-coded in your refrigerator. So you know breakfast, lunch, or dinner, however many of these meals you get. And then 2 minutes in the microwave and they're done because they're not frozen. That's why they only take 2 minutes in your peasant first responder microwave. Beautiful meals. Head over to factormeals.com. Start your meal planning today. Get lean, get mean. Go to factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. Okay, let's talk about the abortion mobile and the sacrifice. Now, so some of the far right, I don't even call it far right. I just think some of the religious right, and they're allowed to be religious right. You know, I'm watching that series Gunpowder Treason or whatever it is. People are allowed to be religious and have religious ideologies and religious views. That's what makes America great. So if you are against abortion, you're allowed to speak out against it. That's not a crime. That's not a hate crime. They're trying to make it a hate crime. Interesting enough, but you're allowed to do it. Some of the religious right, or I say respectfully, the religious right are calling this a Hollywood blood sacrifice. And it is, and I can see where they're coming from though, because they rolled out this bus, show the picture. They've rolled out the vasectomy abortion bus and they have promoted it in great lengths. Like it was already sold out, meaning that it was there in Chicago, the west side of Chicago, for a week, taking appointments for free abortions, free vasectomies, and it was already sold out. They didn't need to promote it anymore. I'm not going to promote or put money in promoting a comedy event that's already sold out. A lot of people say, well, I didn't know you were having a comedy show at your distillery, Eric. Why didn't you promote this? Because we sold all the tickets in 48 hours and I took I'm not paying Facebook for ads when I've already sold out the comedy show. Makes no sense.
You don't get tickets and no one's happy.
Right? People who love comedy, they know about it because they talk about it. They follow me. And there's enough people that follow me that buy those tickets as soon as they come out. Every comedy show that Jay Durrell and I have had at the distillery has been sold out within the first 48 hours. Little do people know that we allow some people to come in because we leave room for about 20 or 30, just so that we're always under. And so if you do show up, we probably will let you in. You just standing room only a lot of times, but they continued to promote the abortion wagon. Now, what I thought was really funny about the pictures of the abortion wagon is it's all white people running it. So it's basically white Democrats killing black people. Oh, that sounds racist, Eric. Well, let me just remind you that black females make up 7% of the United States population. Of women in the United States, they make up 13% of all of the women in the United States are black women, African American women. 7% of human beings in the United States, 7% are African American women. African American women account for 38% of abortions. It's an extreme number that the left hates. So when you're pro-abortion, when you're so pro-abortion, and if you really know what the Democrats have done for the inner cities, nothing. And here's what makes me not a Democrat. And I was on the fence for a long time when I was a cop, because I worked the hardest street and the hardest beat and the hardest district of the entire city, south side of Raleigh, capital of North Carolina. And I asked, how did it get this way? And they said, it's always been that way. I've worked here for 30 years. That street has always been that way. So you're telling me one street in 30 years couldn't be fixed by any mayor, any governor, any police chief, any non-for-profit. Nobody could change one street less than 1 square mile. You couldn't fix 1 square mile in 30 years? You couldn't, or you didn't want to?
Because I wouldn't have something to reelect on next year. I'm going to fix that street next year, Eric. I'm going to fix it.
Or that street literally accounts for all the money for all the nonprofits. So they have to keep those people poor and hungry, or they don't have a job. They built a $2 million garden in the middle of that beat. Who gardens there? Nobody. By the way, the garden is gone now because it got vandalized so much. It was gone in less than a year from vandalism. But it doesn't matter because the architect, who is, I guarantee you, a white guy, got paid $80,000 to draw it up, $40,000 to draw it up. I guarantee you that the consultant, the garden consultant, was a white man or white woman, was from some kind of college or university that got a $10,000 grant to give advice on how to build a proper garden. I bet you the GMO, genetically modified seeds that they planted came off of some other. Everybody profited except the black men and women who live in that beat. And so I actually became very anti all of that. Back then, I do believe that we should have empathy for the inner cities and that we should have charities and all of these things. But the Democrats aren't doing it. No, the people that are in charge, which are Democrats, of these programs are not saving the inner cities. And so now you have these Democrats who are trying to appeal to the black vote desperately. We out here in these streets, says Kamala Harris. Desperate for the black vote. CNN's even reporting on how much of the black vote, unprecedentedly, historically, that Trump has taken from the Democrats. It's never been that big of a number. Never been that big of a number until now. And so the black vote, having Trump go into Harlem and then Biden trying to recount, like one up that by going into Baltimore and going into a Sheets stage, and it was, debacle and all those other things. But so they come out to appeal to black people, and the way that they can appeal to these black people is to give them free abortions and free vasectomies. They would never release the number. They'll never release the number of the demographics of who got their free vasectomy. They're basically saying, without saying, you don't need to recreate. You're not good enough to recreate, but we're going to make it sound really cool. Like we're giving you some kind of like women's rights to come in here. And then all these white women, right? Because you don't see black women out like celebrating abortions. You see these like pink haired wackadoodles who can't have kids anyway because they're fucking gay. So what do they care about abortions anyway? And they're out here going, come on, guys, abort your babies, snip that dick. We don't need you to recreate. Very odd, very strange to me that's what they want to go. Now, I went and we talk about how mainstream media likes to play with numbers and not give you the truth. So I when I was trying to research this, I wanted to know what the percentage of people getting these free vasectomies and these free, like, what's the demographic of free vasectomies and free abortions? And it doesn't, all it gives you is so many articles about how the number of black people getting vasectomies and it's a misused number because you're not taking into account prosperity, their homelessness and the lack of money that they have and the environment that they're born in. That's what causes them to have abortions. But then when you go to look at abortions by city, every Democrat city will not report on them. Let me go from the independent source, Healthy Research Polling and News, KFF.org, which is an organization that tracks these things. You'll notice Florida, 38% black females get abortions. Let's see, Colorado, not recorded. California, not recorded. Let's go to
Illinois.
Maryland, not recorded. Illinois, not recorded. Michigan, 57% black women. Mississippi, 80% of the black women getting abortions. Nebraska, not recorded. New Hampshire, not recorded. New Jersey, 80%. Not recorded. These big, giant Democrat-run cities just don't record the demographics of abortions going on in their city. Why is that, you ask? Well, probably because it's an astronomical number. And when is the black community, the African-American community, and then there are people, Brandon Tatum, for example, that it's speaking out against this, educating against this. People like Joel Patrick or what's the female that is with Shapiro? Candace Owens. You know what I mean? It's not that there's not any, but I mean, that's how we fix? Is that how we fix the inner city hoods and ghetto life? Is we just give you free abortions and we try to abort all of you? These are the same people that offered these inner city folks, these big city folks, free cheeseburgers and fries for their vaccines. That made it a point to scare people of color about the vaccine, knowing that people of color, a lot of them suffer from diabetes. Very strange that they would roll that out as their big kind of, if you go to more a conservative event, they're probably going to have a blood drive. How many charity events have you gone to? Fairs, festivals, 501c3 nonprofit galas where they have a blood drive before the gala? You almost see it every one of them. Every one of these big fancy to do things that I go through for nonprofits almost always start the morning off with a blood drive. Even the 5Ks, it's not very good to give a blood draw before you go into a 5K. It's kind of, but you'll see them out there, the blood drive thing. So I thought this was very odd that instead of doing like a blood drive or something that preserve and save human life, they celebrate having a free abortion clinic or a free vasectomy clinic. And I don't think this goes above being for or against abortions or vasectomies, but the celebration of such things is, unreasonable, even to those who might, I think to the majority. I think there is a lot of pro-choice people out there who are pro-choice out of empathy for the women, or from a bleeding heart standpoint, from a very noble, standpoint, whether you're religious or not, and you want to believe it. But there are a lot of people who are pro-choice because they literally do fear for the women's lives, and they fear for, the oppressed women. And even those women, though, would never celebrate abortion or celebrate having to have an abortion. But anyway, let's jump onto this next stream.
Not to take their word, then we can go. This is their word, weird. Not to call it weird. I'll sum it up real quick. This is what it is. We want this super, super personal private medical event. We want, we don't want to talk about it, right? But we're going to do this huge, massive social media campaign and put it out there for the entire world to see.
Yeah.
That's what.
But it's sold out. It's sold out in a week. But we're going to keep pushing this thing and keep showing you pictures of it.
It's so private. It's private. It's private. It's private. It's private. Right. This whole thing up here that we're showing you, it's private. It's private.
It's private. But anyway,
you want to wrap up with Trump?
Yeah, let's wrap up with this Social Security. Actually, I think the Social Security thing is important. Let's save that for Patreon. You got time to do a Patreon episode and break down the Social Security thing on our Patreon?
Yeah, I could do 25, 30 minutes for it.
And listen, I'm not that wasn't a sales tactic, guys. I'm not trying to get you guys to sign up for our Patreon and pay the $3 a month, which is less than a cup of coffee. I didn't try to lead you on to say that we were going to talk about the Social Security thing, but I have to, go ahead, give us an elevator, 2-minute elevator pitch, so people don't feel like I led them on just to get them over to our Patreon. But if you want a more in-depth look on the Social Security thing, follow our Patreon, and Josh is going to do a Patreon only members brief episode on the Social Security breakdown.
So long story short, when you have a background check investigation done for you, these are all done through private companies. It's not done through the government. They have the access to be able to tap into some stuff, but it's not done through the government. One of those companies is called National Public Data, and that's who got hacked. They were hacked in December of 23, April of 24, and the summer of 24. And they're talking about billions of Social Security numbers of people both living and dead. Your home addresses, work addresses, your entire everything has been in there. So the federal government's really said nothing about it, because it's not the Social Security Department that got hacked. It was a private company that has access to some of this stuff, and all that information was still leaked out. So it wasn't the government, but it was the government. And the government's not really doing anything about it. This company's saying you could pull your credit report, which you can. You're entitled to that. They're not paying for this. They're not giving you any extra protections. They're not doing anything like that. They're just saying, hey, if you have a Social Security number, kind of monitor that for the next couple of months or so.
And then we have
But-
one more live from Tim Walz, Sergeant Major, Command Lieutenant Colonel, Sergeant Major, Iraq war veteran. Tim Walz, what did he say this week that was that he just misspoke on?
So he went hard in the paint, claiming that his wife and their children were conceived through IVF. They did use some sort of treatment or some sort of help to get there, but it wasn't IVF. And his wife later came out and said, yeah, we didn't use that. We did something different. So he misspoke about that. He also misspoke about being a command sergeant major, where he was reduced in rank before he was allowed to retire out of the military. His retirement is actually as an E8. He was an E9 for a period of time, and it wasn't really even a period of time. He was waiting to go to the schoolhouse. And so he misspoke about that. And then his sergeant major that actually took his spot on the deployment and the commander both have come out and said, despite what Walz is saying, yeah, I was planning on retiring, and this deployment just magically came up out of nowhere. The commander and the command sergeant major both said, we knew about it. He knew about it, and he put his stuff in to try to get out of it. So he misspoke about that too. There's still, to this day, yesterday, they introduced him as a retired command sergeant major at the DNC. They're not doubling. They're not tripling. They're just telling you
Again,
hey,
that's what I'm saying. They just keep betting that $1,000 on that 4-6 hand when there's not even a flush on the board or a straight on the board. You know, like they have a 4 of puppy toes, as I like to call them, and they have a 6 of diamonds, and what you have on the board is like a king, queen, 2. You know what I mean? Like there's no chance of a straight. There's really no chance of anything. You don't even have the high card, but we're still gonna bet on the dude that's like physically holding a high card, and you're like, what do you have, like 2 pair? Confused, like just to be confused, just to be kind of a cunt, or just a dumb poker player. That's what the Democrat Party is. They just keep doubling down and making these weird petty bets on things that they don't just fold the hand. There's nothing wrong in poker with folding. I mean, unless you're down to the wire and you can't fold because the blinds are going to take you out or whatever. But like the Democrats have been doing this for the last 4 years, just doubling and tripling down on nonsense, like doubling and tripling down on Biden's dementia. Like we all know it. Like you cannot keep making this $1,000 bet. Eventually the whole flop is going to be out, and you're not going to have any more cards to play, and then we're all going to know you're full of shit. Whereas if you fold now, we can be like, well, why did they fold? Did they not have anything? Do they have something now? Like, what are they going to But anyway, folk around and find out says cunt, Dan Holloway's favorite word. It's becoming mine recently with everything the DNC has been doing. I don't know if it's Dan's favorite word. I think cunt is a military word. I know that where I fell in love with the word cunt was Ranger indoctrination program. There was a Scottish Ranger instructor, and cunt was an acronym for can't understand normal thinking. And so he would he also used sniper bait a lot, and he'd be like, come on, you cunts, pick up your sniper bait, you fucking cunts. And like he would just say cunts all the time. And that's when I started using the word cunt, which would have been circa 2008, way before I knew Dan Holloway. But anyway, yes, he does do a very good job of using the word cunt, but I don't know if it's Dan Holloway's word. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good word, and I've been using it for a long time. So actually, my wife even mentioned that I was the first man that she'd ever been with that actually used the word openly, cunt, and that would have been circa 2008, 2009. So I do steal a lot of things though from Dan Holloway. No, I don't. I really don't take anything from Dan Holloway. I don't have any Dan Holloway mannerisms, even though I worked for him or under him for a few years. I never really picked up any. Huh? I don't have a beard. No,
you've got the beard going in there, don't you? No, nothing.
And I don't mind being wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me to be wrong sometimes or to have to ask for clarification on something. I don't think Dan does that very often. But to be fair, he is right most of the time. 99% of the time, he's right every time. So he's got that going for him. I do have the mullet from Last Row Lopez. I do have some Ross Patterson mannerisms, though, if you really want to go there. But that's where I got my podcast start. And that's one of the big podcasts that I followed for many years. So, of course, I'm probably going to have more Ross Patterson, sometimes when I do this, some people will say that that's a Ross Pattersonism, but maybe it's just an Ericism, and it's what attracted me to listening to shows like Ross Patterson, which then led me to working for that network and podcasting under them. Maybe that's the case. Either way, I'm not ashamed and not embarrassed because I was always a big Ross Patterson fan. Still am a big Ross Patterson fan. And so, I'll take it. Guys, lots of going on. There's going to be some crazy changes coming in the next couple of weeks for us over here at the network. It's all going to start moving pretty fast from here on out. So, go ahead and stand by to stand by. Make sure you're following. Oh, if you're here, if you're still listening, 99% of our audio listeners are our listeners, but there are a lot of people in this chat. I need you to do me a favor. Into the show, please do this favor. And listen, the 5-star rating and review is a thing always. I met Sarah Gonzalez. I'm a big Sarah Gonzalez podcast fan. I'm also a big Pop Culture Crisis fan. I want to start getting us onto some of these other shows. If you could go to Sarah Gonzalez's Instagram, throw out that, hey, you should get Tansey on. Eric Tansey from Failure to Stop. She now knows me. She has my cell phone number. She's even texted me. She probably does that to everybody. She probably has a burner phone, but I still felt special in the moment. Could you guys go over there and tell them that they should have Eric Tansey on Sarah Gonzalez's show or on Pop Culture Crisis? Please. You can tag Failure to Stop, but you have to say Eric Tansey from Failure to Stop. I really want to go on those shows. Those are my favorite shows, help grow this network as well. But I also think I would do a good job on some of those shows. And so if you want to see this network for first responders and veterans grow into an actual media company that it is growing into be, help us out. Again, I'm not holding cards close to my chest. My intent is to get on Sarah Gonzalez's show and to get on Pop Culture Crisis. Those are my cards. And, if you want to help me win, deal me some tags, some social media tags. Also hit up, if you've got kids, hit up our new YouTube channel, Rad Kids Club, made by, for professionally produced, all to inspire kids to get off their keistas and get outside. So using screens to get kids off screens. But if your kid watches one episode of Rad Kids Club, they will want to get out and try new things. They started the Rad Kids Rad Kids Club School. Their first episode was the one skateboard trick you have to learn, which is very fun and cute. It's just go skateboarding. It's just literally get out on the road and ride your skateboard. Their second video on there was on their lessons videos was how to ollie. Maybe you're an adult and you've been struggling with the ollie on the skateboard. But anyway, even for adults, like if you watch that Just Go Skateboard video where they explain like what you can learn from just pushing a skateboard, it makes you like go, damn, like I want to go get the skateboard out of the garage and just go skate. Like that sounds fun. So if you've got kids, head over to Rad Kids Club on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, head over to Failure to Stop Instagram, follow it. Last Call 12 is the specific Instagram for this specific show on Wednesdays. We also have Two Cops, One Donut Shop podcast coming on. And then we have New York's finest. Those guys are going to come on the network too. We're working on that in the next day or two. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. We will be here tomorrow night for sports. I won't be here, but the sports guys on the network will be here. And then, of course, Friday, we have our big case breakdown, which is kind of a hostage rescue by street cops in Tampa. Very strange case. What happens is it's pretty extreme. There's a lot to break down there. So we'll break that down on Friday. All right, you guys have an awesome weekend or awesome week. The rest of the week, it's hump day. Get through the rest of the week. Head over to Sarah Gonzalez right now. Sarah Gonzalez on Instagram. She's got the blue check mark from Blaze TV. And say, get Eric Tansey from Failure to Stop on the show. I want to see like 5 people do it. 6 people do it. Let's go. Do it. Deucimo. Actually, you could go to the Failure to Stop Instagram page where I put a picture of us with Sarah Gonzalez. Just tag her in the comments on that picture. At Sarah Gonzalez, get these guys on the show. Get Eric on the show. Get Eric Tansey on the show. All right, guys. Thank you for all that. We love you guys. Can't wait to grow this network and make the world a better place. We'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.
See you.